guys, it's Kate and I hope you're having a great day. I wanted to do another jelly printing video because I couldn't get enough from last time. So last video we did a bunch of greens, and this time I pulled out some of my blues, and I still have one green just because I really love this lime green color. It's nice and bright. And I've got some burnt sienna as a complementary color, black and white. And I pulled out a copper that maybe we'll also use. So let's get started with our first coat. So I've got my jelly plate. I have some of the little bits and pieces on here, so this will be kind of a neat first pull. And I'm just going to pick a color out of my pile, and I'm going to go for this turquoise blue. So what I'm going to do on this first layer is spread this out and then do a little bit of stamping in it to add some texture. And I really love this color. It's just really rich and blue. This is an opaque color from Liquitex, so this will be kind of a nice little first layer. So I'm going to grab one of my little glue gun stencils that I made, and I'm just going to kind of press this in here so that we get some little marks, and you'll see that the little lines are kind of left behind. You can also kind of stamp it off to the side to clean it off a little bit, but this is just going to leave some light marks, and I might even go over it just a little bit with my brayer because it's a little hard to press on with my hand. And I'm going to change the direction a bit too. And I'm just not really caring too much about where it goes down. It's going to be kind of messy, and you can see some of that texture on there already. And this will be an interesting first print. I got my paper a little bit crooked on here, and I lifted it, so hopefully I didn't mess up the print, but there might be a little bit of off printing right here. But that's okay because it's just a first pull. Oh yeah, got a lot of texture on here. That looks pretty good to me as a first pull. So I'm going to put that aside, and we have a little bit left over here on the plate. And what I'm going to do next is get my second paper started, and I am going to do a lighter color on this one. So I'm going to grab some white and also a little bit of this sky blue. And I'm going to mix them up a little bit with my brayer. Maybe we'll get like a little cloudy background or something. That would be kind of fun. And this kind of lightens it up a bit. I really like this. Hopefully it comes out well on the paper. Okay, so let's see. What do we want to add to this one? I've got these little triangles. This is a stamp that I made. So I'm just going to go around and stamp, and I'm going to stamp off of my jelly plate now and then just to get the excess paint off my stamp. And let's pull our first print here. Now if you don't have stamps, you can use paper stencils. I cut out stencils from cardstock. You can even get stuff from the store. I mean, I've got a box of all kinds of little things that I've collected over time, like the little nets that you put in the bottom of the sink, all sorts of things that add texture. Even like shelf liners have a kind of cool grid, and I like this. This is really kind of dreamy looking. I like that blue and white mix. All right, so we've got a little bit left over on here, and that's fine. I'm going to do another light to go over that dark turquoise blue. And I'm going to grab this ocean green. And we've got a little bit of the white on here too, so that'll be kind of interesting. Now this is a semi-transparent, so it will have okay coverage but not full coverage, and it's just something to keep in mind when you're doing your papers and experimenting with your paints. And I don't exactly know how this is going to cover up that dark color, so this is going to be a good way to find out. So I'm going to grab a couple of my hand cut stencils now, and I've got some of these little rings that I cut, or actually sort of like rectangles. I've got another one in here too. All right, I've got one more, and I'll just stick it up there in the corner. That's a good one. That's got some nice contrast on it. Yes, I'm happy with that print. All right, let's pull these up and get another one going. Now my sky blue one that I just printed before this, I'm going to put a dark color on that one. So I'm thinking I'll do the phthalo blue, which is also a semi-transparent. And I think for this one, I'm gonna do the circles. And this is one of my favorite colors actually. I really love phthalo blue. It's just such a rich color, and it's a great mixing color. If you have a nice yellow to mix it with, it makes some really beautiful bright greens. The ultramarine blue makes, for me, some more of those sort of muted greens like olive greens and things like that. So I've got this. You can even see a little bit of the outline from my other little templates. And then also, well, actually, got one more ring here, and I'll just do plain old rings. Look at this one. That looks awesome. And that phthalo blue is really pretty. So I've got a little bit of the phthalo blue left on here. I think I'm gonna do a lime green, because what the heck. And this will be the first print of our next sheet. And I'm not going to mark in this one because we have plenty of texture there at the bottom, so I'm going to try to do a full pull and get my plate kind of cleared off a bit for the next sheet. And this lime green is nice and bright. It looks really nice next to the white of the paper. So it's a great first layer if you want something really nice and bright. It's kind of muted on here because it's over that craft paper, but it'll get better in a second. Now I'm going to press pretty firmly on this for a minute just to get a really good contact, because I want to try to get up as much as I can from the below layers, from that extra texture from my rings and whatever's left of that phthalo blue. All right, let's pull. And this is coming off really clean from the Gelli print plate. That's beautiful. And that's got lots of texture on it and lots of contrast. And I love these little sort of ghost outlines from the previous print. That looks really cool. So this is a winner. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep all these papers, of course, because, you know, you can always use them for something. Okay, now let's say you don't have a stamp, a paper stencil, or you don't feel like cutting one. You can use just different materials around you. I've got this little silicone spatula. I've got a stylus over here someplace. Here we go. And I've got an assortment of palette knives, which also work really nicely. So we can use a couple of these and work on our next layer. So I think I'm actually going to start with a dark color this time, and I'm going to go with black. And we'll get this all covered on the jelly plate, and then we can do some mark making in it for our second, or really for our first pull, not our second pull. I'm getting ahead of myself. All right. Just making sure I get an even coat here. I've got a nice thin coat, which is good. You don't want to get too thick because then you just have so much paint left over on here. So if you have a silicone spatula, or even, a kitchen spatula, I have this one that I got for free at Walmart, and I just kind of took it for my craft room because I love it. I'm picking up a little paint. You can see I'm kind of pressing into it just a little bit and dragging to make these little dashes. And if you get paint buildup on your spatula, you can just rub it off to the side and clear it off. And this might actually, I got 2 fingerprints here from where I grabbed it, so we'll just fix that. Now I can make some little organic marks here, just like that. I can grab my stylus and draw in it. Now this paint, because I'm working on it so long, is starting to dry a little bit. It's starting to feel kind of tacky, and I've got a little bit of drag here from my stylus. So what I'm going to do is give this another minute to dry, and then I'm just going to go ahead and do a second color over this and do 1 pull with 2 layers. Okay, so since I have black on here and we're pretty dry, I don't have anything coming up on my hands, I'm going to pick a light color to go over this, which will be the background color. So I'm going to grab this ocean green, which really is like a blue, and I will gently brayer this over the bottom layer. Now, just in case there's any wet spots that I don't know about or can't tell or missed when I touched it, I'm just going to blend it lightly so that I don't mix it with the black. It's not the end of the world if I do, but you won't get a nice clean color if you want to have that really nice contrast between the black and the blue. So I'm doing my best to just go over it gently and not mix my colors. Then I'm going to grab my sheet of paper and do a single pull with 2 layers. All right, let's pull it back and see what we've got. And I think this is looking pretty good to me. All right, here is our print. It almost looks like some cool graffiti, but this is what you can do just with any mark making tools. You can use credit cards, you can use rubber spatulas, you can use pencil erasers if you want. I would just avoid sharp things really, and then anything else goes. So here is our next print, and you can see that wonderful black with the blue coming through from the background, and that's really gorgeous. Okay, let's work on our next print. I'm going to grab the ultramarine this time and get a nice coat of that on here. And I'm actually going to let this one dry too and do another double pull because I think I want to use that copper, and that'll be really nice. So I'll have this dark kind of ultramarine here, and I'm going to do some mark making in it just like we did with the black, and then I'm going to go over it again with copper once it dries. So I'm going to use my stylus again and just start doing almost like I'm writing in cursive, and it's just going to be some interesting marks. I'm not actually writing any letters, but it will have that kind of effect once we do our pull. So I'm going to let this dry and then go over it with copper so we can get some copper lettering. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm all dry. I'm going to go into my lovely copper, and put a decent coat on there. And I love these metallics. And I was actually kind of debating on whether I should go and get my silver, because silver would probably be really beautiful with the blue also. And I may just go get it. I don't know. We'll see. I'm in the mood for some metallics today. I'm just going to make sure this has a decent coat. And I might add just another little tiny dollop just to make sure that we're all good and coated. That looks pretty good to me. All right, time for the first pull on another sheet. Now, because I'm pulling up 2 coats, I'm going to give this a good press and also let it set for a minute before I lift it, just to make sure it gets bonded to the paper all the way. Okay, let's pull. I don't think that was ready. I might have partially dried that copper also. Boy, this was a poor pull. It still looks pretty cool though, but that's too bad that it kind of dried there on the tray. I guess I didn't pull it fast or cover it fast enough. So our next coating is going to have some really cool bits of copper in it. So that'll be nice. I'm going to pick this bright aqua green. I have not used this one yet. I don't know how it'll look with the copper, but here we go. We're going to go for it. And I don't know, because this had the ultramarine on it too, so we may get ultramarine and maybe a little bit of copper on this aqua. So it'll be an interesting pull. See what we get. It does not want to pull up yet. It's not ready. It needs to bake some more. All right, let's try lifting it now. For some reason, boy, it just wants to stay behind on the plate. I'm getting most of it, and I've got a little bit left on here that hopefully will come up in the next pull, but this has a really cool frame, and I think we're going to be able to do something fun with this. Okay, I am going to do another print on this one, and I think I want to do maybe another fun blue color that's sort of in the middle. You know what? I think I'll just go with the phthalo blue again. That's always a good choice of color. And it will do a little bit of a glaze over the black and kind of darken up some of that blue. And here I'm going to use some of my paper stencils, and I think for this one, because I want to get some nice blocks of this pattern, I'm going to use some of my circle cutouts. Let me just grab them from the side just like that, and let's get our paper on here. Oh, that's pretty cool. It's like a glaze because that phthalo blue is partly transparent, so you get to still see some of that background coming through. That's a really cool print. It's very graphic. I'm going to do another print with pure white and hopefully lift the rest of this blue. It just does not want to move. A little bit of that phthalo is mixing with the white. That's kind of cool. So this will be a nice bright one. And I think I'm going to do a little bit of marking on this one too. And I'm going to use this palette knife. And I think we'll get some interesting kind of ribbon textures. And then I'll just wipe the excess paint off to the side. I don't want to print white on, well, I guess I will. I'm going to print white on white. Okay, because it's a little off-white anyway, so it'll just be light. It'll be slightly blue tinted, but I wish I had a dark paper on hand because I would have loved to see that ribbon texture on another print with a nice color in the background, like a light over dark or dark over light, so that you could see that nice 3D effect. But we've got other papers we can do. All right, I think we're ready to pull. And some of that blue's coming up with the copper. And we have some other interesting marks down there too. Wow, actually a lot is coming up. Look at this. That was a clean pull, because I have a whole bunch of texture on there that I did not make in the last the last one. So this is interesting. I even have some old circle shapes on here. Wow. This is a good pull. That's a very interesting mark. Okay, so we've got some sort of leftover little bits and blobs on here. This is where that paint kind of piled up a little bit from when I was swirling my palette knife through it. So it was just so thick that it didn't all lift with the paper. So we'll have this on here as an interesting little color. And I think for this one, I am going to go back to the sky blue and get going with it. Now for the sky blue, I want to grab my stylus again, and I am just going to quickly make a little circle pattern on here before the paint dries, and we can have another fun mark on a background. And I'm not being too specific. In fact, these are pretty messy circles that I'm making, but they'll be interesting to look at. And I want to hurry before my paint dries, because you can see it maybe starting to drag a little bit. I'm not getting such clean marks. I don't know if the camera is picking that up. Yeah, it's starting to dry just a little bit. This might be another double layer pull. So sometimes time is of the essence. Okay, I've got this pretty well covered. I am going to go ahead and just let this dry. Okay, so I'm going to put lime green on this for the background. And I think that will look really nice with this blue. So I'm just going to get this gently spread over the jelly plate, and it's going to fill in all those little circle gaps and any of the transparent areas of the blue that green is going to show through. And it probably will show through a little bit over the whole thing, because I don't think that that blue is 100% opaque, and the layer is so thin that it likely will show through everywhere. So I'm going to hurry up and grab my paper and get it on here and give it a good press. All right, let's test our pull. This looks pretty cool. Even some of those original white marks are coming up, and that just adds a little bit of extra interest here. I really like that. That's sort of like ocean blue green. It's really pretty. That's cool. Okay, so I've got, if I can get it, I've got this paper here, and I really want to add something to the middle, but I really like this border around the outside. So what I think I'm going to do is just a partial paint in the middle area, and I think I'm going to go, I don't know if this was, I think this was ultramarine. So I'm going to grab the ultramarine, and if it's not the ultramarine, well, that's fine too. But I am just going to add just a little tiny dollops, and I'm going to grab my spatula and do some light mark making on this. And I'll have a little bit kind of come to the outside, but you can see I'm just doing a very thin coat, and it's very texture heavy. And hopefully we can get a cool print off of that. Let's see what we've got. I like it. That's pretty cool. I really love, I mean, with the mono printing, I mean, you really can't get effects like this with a paintbrush. And so this is just a really great way to make some interesting papers with lots and lots of texture and just, I don't know, it's chef's kiss. So what I'm going to do next, I'm trying to look through my papers here to see, I have kind of a lot of darker papers. I think I would like to do some more lighter colors, and this one with the white mixed with the blue, I was gonna print on this again, but I actually really love how this looks, and it's just really pretty and cool. So I am going to leave this as is, but I would like to have something with sort of an overall lighter tone like that one. So I'm going to check out my colors over here, and I think what I might do is do white up top and maybe white mixed with one of these blues toward the bottom. Maybe I'll just stick with the ultramarine since I've already got a little bit on my Gelli plate. And I'm going to start here with the white. Maybe I'll even just, you know what, I'll just add that ultramarine to everything because I love the color. And when you have it mixed with a lot of white, you can kind of see it almost takes on a bit of a lavender purple hue that's just really pretty. I really like ultramarine, and it's just a very soft, calming color when you lighten it up like this. Okay, I'm going to grab this again and see about adding some marks here. We'll see what we get. And you know what? I might do another stamp also. I'm going to grab those triangles again. All right, let's see what we've got. Oh yeah, that's pretty. A lot of cool geometric shapes going on here. I like that. I'm going to do a reprint on this, I think, with some more ultramarine and some more copper. I'm going to put my ultramarine there, and I'm going to put my copper toward the top, and I'm going to make sure the end with the most white goes on that side. That way, any of those little holes, we can make sure the copper peeks through from the background, and then the ultramarine area will just get more ultramarine-y. And then if we get any peeking through, I can kind of maybe give it a little ombre effect. And why not? Well, you know what? I was going to stamp in it, but I'm just going to do the print. Okay, let's do our pull. Oh, you know what? I kept thinking like it was going to be on the background. Of course it's on the front. I did not think this through. I should have put marks on it. Looks like this is going to be a candidate for a third print. Can't believe I did that. That was silly. Okay, I've got some ultramarine on here, some copper on here. Maybe we go back to this ocean green and get another light color. Now this one I will do some stamping in, and I'm going to use my little line stamp. Right here. And I'm also going to use my circle stamp right here. All right, let's give this a pull. We're getting a pretty clean pull, which is great. Most of everything's coming up except just a little bit right there. And that has some really cool texture on it too. So I had that leftover blue at the top, so that's covering over a little bit of my circles, but this looks pretty good. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to check and see. This is dry, so I am going to work on this next. And I'm going to keep that dark, I think. So I'm going to grab my black and just deepen it even more. But what I'm going to do is add some of my circles in a row. So that way we're still going to get a lot of that great copper coming through. And what I'm going to do here is put my circles right in a row. And I'm also going to do the same thing with my little ones. And then put a couple of these little doodads in there too, because why not? Let me make sure. Yeah, my copper's up top. That's what I want because I don't want to cover it all. Oh, this is looking pretty good. That's cool. It's pretty low contrast, but you can still see those shapes on there. I really like this one, and I think there's going to be a few different ways that I can use it, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm going to pick up my shapes, and these are going to have, there's a little bit of black left on here, and each of these are still going to have their outlines left over, so I can use one of my mid-tone or lighter colors, and you'll see all of this texture on the next pull. I think I'm going to go back for this turquoise. Actually, I am going to do this aqua green. Oh, this is a neat pull. I love these ghost prints. These are some of my favorites. You have some really neat shapes on here. That's going to be a good one. Okay, I pretty much have a clean plate right now. So I'm going to think of a couple more I can do before calling it quits. And I am just going to take a moment to think about it. Okay, I grabbed some of my strips here, and these I just cut from cardstock, the last video, and I really want to do some more with this copper. So what I am going to do is do a layer with copper, and then I'm going to put my strips across it here. And these can be put down randomly, evenly spaced, however. And that's going to be my pattern. I'm going to add copper to another one of my prints. And I think this one's a good candidate. It's just not quite perfect yet, but I think a little bit of a metallic layer will be nice on it. Oh, this is a good one. That's cool. And I still have my little border and stuff on here, but it's just got some nice metallic interest on it now. So now we're going to have some coppery lines on here that are really thin, and I want to try to choose the right color to put down over this. I haven't done phthalo blue in a while, so let's do that and see how it turns out. And we'll have a dark background, and maybe we can do a second pull with some more copper on the front. Now I might have just a little bit too much paint on here, so I'm going to let it sit an extra minute before I lift to try to get a better bond with the paper. And I don't know how well the copper will show because it's kind of a thin line, but I think if it does show, it's going to be really pretty. And if it doesn't, we can always do another pull. And I think the copper will look really good with the phthalo blue too. All right, let's try our pull. And I can't, oh, that copper looks really pretty. Oh, look. It's so delicate, but you can see it so well in person. Hopefully the camera is picking it up enough. That is really, really pretty. You know what I would actually use this for? It looks like ocean waves. Like if you were to collage this, it looks like water, like abstract water. That's really beautiful. I'm going to leave this just as it is, and I might have to make some more of these. That's pretty. So we've got a little bit of this blue on here. I'm going to do another one with phthalo blue, and I am going to put the lime green on the bottom half and do a bit of a combo pull. I'm also going to do some more circle stencils on this, or circle stamps rather. This is like my favorite stencil, or stamp. God, I can't get my words right. It's my favorite one, and I just made it. It's perfect for what I do. Alright, let's get our paper on here. So we're going to have a little ombre effect. Oh. It's so pretty. I love this one. It's so pretty. That blue and green, I just love that combo. And phthalo blue is just my favorite. I love it. And look, if you mix it with that lime green, look what a pretty green you get too. This is pretty. Did I say pretty enough? I don't know. It is pretty. Something I kind of realized when I was editing is, I mean, we all say things, you know, some of the same words all the time just because it's just what we do and we don't even realize, like the ums and the uhs, which I kind of do those too on here. But something I realized that I say all the time is fun, which I do have fun, but good Lord, I say it an awful lot in my videos. So if you're ever wondering, we do have fun on this channel and a lot of it. So I hope you enjoy these videos, though. I don't know why I don't do more videos with jelly printing, because it's one of my favorite things, and it's actually, you know, when I'm thinking of videos to make and I'm just kind of wondering, what do I want to do next? What kind of stuff do I want to have on my schedule? I just sometimes am not feeling very creative, and you know, I wouldn't call it burnout because I love doing these videos on this channel, but I do kind of get out of the creative mindset a little bit sometimes, and I'm sort of at a loss for what I want to do next, or, you know, whether I want to grab my watercolors that day, or if I want to do some acrylic painting or intuitive art or doodling or whatever. And I never think to do the jelly plate, but when I'm not feeling creative, this so gets me in the mood. Absolutely it does, because you don't really have to think that much about it, and you can make some really beautiful prints, and it's really therapeutic, honestly, because I just wasn't really feeling like I wanted to do crafting or art today, and I'm on vacation actually right now, so I've got all kinds of free time, but I just wasn't feeling the vibe to go do something. But I've been here, this is my second video I've recorded today with this jelly plate, and I don't know how far apart that they'll be posted. Sometimes I put a little gap between videos, but yeah, I'm gonna have to break this out more often. And anytime I'm not feeling creative, instead of just not doing anything, I need to come in here and do some jelly pulls, because then you can get stuff like this with hardly any effort at all. And then what you do next is up to you. But that is gorgeous. I love it. I'm still pulling up little tiny bits of copper, so that's kind of fun. You know what? Let's do another copper. I am going to do a second print with copper over that blue. And maybe I'll use my big circles, because actually that might be kind of fun to have the big circles with that sort of scribbly pattern in the middle from my glue gun stencil, which is really easy to do also and fun. And if you're interested in a video, I can make one. But anyway, I've just had them lying around and I hadn't been using them, so this is sort of a perfect opportunity. All right, so I've got that. I'm going to grab my big circles as fast as I can before this dries. And I'm just going to stick them on here because this is all going to get cut up anyway. I don't even have to, arrange them any specific way. It doesn't really matter, because if I use it for a project, I might use a strip or a tear, a torn off corner or something, or a cutout. But I won't really use the whole sheet. So, you can mix and match patterns on a paper, or you don't even have to do patterns on the whole paper, because I'm doing a lot of stuff with texture right now. But if you're working on a collage, or doing a lot of stuff with pattern, I guess I should say, but if you're working on a collage, it's nice to have some quieter things on hand too. And even the quieter prints, like this one, are just really gorgeous, and they still have plenty of interest. And it's much different than something you could do with a brush, but it's a lot quieter than, say, this one. But if I were to put a strip of these next to each other on a collage, it would look really beautiful, and actually it would belong together too, because I've got the same little pattern on each one, but this one is way more toned down, so it will just always work. And I might have to do some videos on that. Maybe we can do a couple collages together. I love how that turned out. Okay, so I just took my circles off and I've got my faint little copper outlines here. So I'm going to go back into this ocean green and do one last pull. And I'm going to get everything up off of this jelly plate, hopefully. So I'm going to grab my brayer and get this coated, and I think I'm going to use the last little stamp that I have tonight that I haven't used yet, and it's my little flower cutouts, and they're just sort of like fun doodly type flowers, but it leaves an interesting little pattern. So I think I will have this tonight with my little copper circles. So we'll see how this looks. And I'm just going to go through and do my stamping. And look, you get a whole pattern in like 2 seconds flat, maybe 10 seconds, but it's a whole pattern. So highly recommend the foam stamps, and I'll put a link to the video below where I made these. The first time I made them, it was a bit of a time-consuming process because I was sort of figuring out the foam, but I actually just got done making like 5 more big stamps that I'm going to break out in another video because the glue is still drying. I should have recorded it, but I didn't. And the process is going a lot faster now. Okay, last pull of the day. Let's see what we've got. And that was actually a really clean pull. So we have our little copper rings and our cute little flowers. That's nice. I like this. I think this was a really good jelly printing session. I'm going to get my stuff put away and then we'll look at what we did together. All right, we did a whole bunch of really cool jelly prints. And we did 15 actually, which is funny because I wasn't counting them, but it's exactly the same amount that we made in my last video, so that's fun. So we did some wonderful metallic ones. You can see the shine, and I'm just going to page through these so you can see all the ones we made. And this is maybe my favorite, even though it's the least complicated. This one's pretty cool too. It's just got some very interesting subtle marks in there, which I like. You know, you don't have to have everything be high contrast. You can have some lower contrast ones too. This reminds me of some kind of snowy glacier. This one was nice. I really like the stylus marks on here. It's just very interesting and almost like a little bit of graffiti. So that'll be an interesting collage texture. Our little doodly flowers. Here is that glue gun stencil with some wonderful copper, and you can see the stencil through the copper a bit too, so even if I just use this or this, I can do either one, or I can kind of mix them up and cut into it. I love this one. I mean, I love all of these. I don't even know if I think that dark blue one might be my favorite. This one's really cool too. I just have these really nice grungy textures on there. And I love this one with the little hand-drawn circles. It's very graphic and bright. This one's another nice one with that wonderful dark overlay. And last but not least, we have blue on blue. Go figure. We did a lot of blue this time. And there's a couple of greens mixed in here. So hope you enjoyed this video today. I really enjoyed coming in and working on my jelly plate. So if you have one, get going on it. Get to doing something creative, even if you're not feeling like it, and you'll have fun before you know it. I did. So I'm really glad I filmed this video today. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and comment if you have any feedback. Until next time, keep creating, and thank you for watching.